Welcome to Ashman's Basics. Today we're going to be talking about pyrography, and that is wood burning. And basically it is drawing with fire, which is what it literally means. So it started a long time ago. People have been writing with fire for a long time, and you could do this on leather and wood. So there are other things you could do it on, but probably shouldn't. But basically, you take a tool like one of these, which is a tool, which is a electrified, it's basically an arc welder in there. So when it's on, don't use a screwdriver or it'll light up. But basically, you take one of these and you heat it to a certain degree, depending on what kind of wood you're using, and it'll burn it. And the thing is, don't be afraid of it. Everybody gets a little worried when there's fire involved, which is good. Don't get me wrong. It is good to be a little worried when you're messing with fire. But the thing about it is, you can buy one of these pieces of equipment for pretty cheap. You can also buy one of the older styles if you just want to figure out the basics for even cheaper. And you could buy scraps of wood, or on one of the big box places that delivers to your house, you could buy basswood flats. And there are different kinds of wood that you want to work on, because something like oak has a very rough surface and it has pockets, and you'll hit those and it'll look very jagged. Whereas like something like basswood is the pores are very tight and it'll glide right over it. So it's very nice to have that kind of board to work on. But don't be afraid to just work on scraps. Find anything you can to learn. Like one of these things, like I was showing you earlier, this is all brass. And these big tips heat up, and they take longer to heat up, and they take a lot longer to cool down. So you got to be careful with that. You got to use pliers and that sort of thing to move it off. And this has no temperature control, which is what Lenny was talking about down there. So no temperature control. It just has one setting for the heat. So you're only going to get one kind of burn out of it. So it's very primitive as far as wood burning tools go. Now this one, which I have over here, let's see if I can get this in shot. This piece right here isn't very much more expensive, and you have a lot more control. You have what they call wire tips, which I could show you, and they have various wire tips. So you can burn straight lines, or you can burn shading, that sort of thing. And the temperature that you work in really darkens the line, lightens the line, or lightens the shading, darkens the shading. Always have a test piece of wood when you're working. Sometimes even when I've been working for a while, I still hit exactly 666 is my setting for my wood burner. But yeah, always make sure you have something to test on, because the worst thing you could do is work on something for hours and then it's too hot and you make a big dark line through it, and then it's ruined. And that's the one thing about wood burning that is exciting and frightening at the same time. It's permanent. It's harder to get rid of your mistakes. So you could use sandpaper and that sort of thing, but it's more permanent. And I think that's what's so exciting about it, is every line is remembered. And every mistake is remembered, but you're always going to learn from it.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. So it's interesting because on the more rudimentary ones that don't have a temperature setting, my limited experience, that's the one I started with. And I have one that
Oh
has a
yeah.
little bit of a temperature thing on it, but I don't have a fancy one. But the two things, one, your description of like the difference between trying to burn oak versus basswood, because oak
Yeah.
has the big pores
Yes.
and it's bumpy. Even if you sand it smooth, it's bumpy
Yeah.
on a microscopic level. And so that's super interesting. And basswood and oak are much different in hardness and
Yes.
specific gravity. So that also affects your temperature, right? So trying to
Hmm.
wood burn with something that doesn't change temperatures on different types of wood adds another element of challenge to it.
Yeah.
So if you're able to, I highly recommend getting one. At least the one that I have is the one like you can screw the top on, like you were
Yeah.
showing.
The brass. Yeah.
The one that you have that doesn't. I have one that doesn't have a temperature on it, and then the same kind that does have a temperature setting on it. And then the other one that you have looks like my solder setup.
Yeah. It
It's
does,
nice,
doesn't
like with dials and shit on it. Um, but it's interesting, man, because the type of wood very much affects how the instrument, how smoothly it'll travel across the wood. And then the hardness of the wood matters too. So if you switch from doing a piece of basswood to a piece of cherry, you
it? Oh
better
yeah.
change the temperature a little bit
Change the
because cherry's
temperature
harder.
and check check on that kind of wood before you burn on that, because you're right. And something like pine has pockets
Mm,
in it, and
mm.
the sap and stuff will just burn, and it'll it'll,
Faster
it'll
than
bubble
everything around
actually.
it.
It'll bubble.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sure does. How much would a really good one be about with temperature control?
I wouldn't
Um,
I wouldn't go over 80 donuts. I think you can find a decent one for maybe even like 40 donuts or so. So,
yeah, I think the little cheap one that I have that does have it's got interchangeable heads on it, and it does have a temperature control. It's not the most accurate. It's just basically 0 to 10, right? It doesn't have an actual number like yours does, but
yeah.
I think that was less than 40. I think.
Yeah. The thing is, I procured one for a lot more and I returned it because it didn't work as well as the one for around 40. So,
Right
you
on,
know,
right on.
it's not more isn't
So
better sometimes.
hey, Laura. Yeah, and it's a comfort level too, right? Because you're holding these things like a pen. So I have heard people say, I got one and I like the way it burned, but it didn't feel good. I had to get a
Yeah.
different shape or whatever. So that's also, I think, maybe a consideration. I use mine rudimentarily, like just like putting initials in something or something.
Yeah,
Not
like the
like y'all
stamps
do,
and stuff and
Yeah,
yeah.
not nothing like y'all do. So interesting, man. Always encouraging folks to step outside their box. Wood burning is something you could get into fairly easily. You could go get an old pallet and
Oh
break
yeah.
that old pallet up and sand most of those pieces, and you would be able to do wood burning on a lot of those types of wood. They generally make them out of heart.
As long as it's not treated, because
Right?
treated wood would be bad. The toxicity would be bad. So don't
Yeah.
put anything on it first. Don't treat it in just burn it first and then treat it later.
Yeah, no
Cover it.
treated wood. Yeah, that's a good point. No treated lumber. You shouldn't be burning treated lumber. Yeah, magnifying glass in the sun. I hear you. I hear you, Savvy. Right on, man.